Joining me today on the Capital TV show, Eli Gold, he's President Gold Institute for International Strategy. Good evening. You're most welcome, Eli.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you about the Muslim Brotherhoods, how they work in USA. We know that they try to send a message to conservatives in America that they honor religious values and they are against communism, but in the same time they spread hate and anti-Semitism. How do you see that?
Well, it's clear that the Muslim Brotherhood's charter has been one that has been anti-Israel and certainly anti-Semitic at large. The Brotherhood works in more of a diplomatic fashion rather than one might consider a typical terrorist group. While they do have a diplomatic arm and they do provide educational services and so on, the rhetoric that comes out of the Brotherhood is clearly one that's anti-Semitic. Mm-hmm. We see this what they have done throughout the Obama administration, where members of the Muslim Brotherhood were put into senior positions within the various different agencies, in particular the Defense Department as well as the State Department. There's no doubt that Secretary of State Clinton, Hillary Clinton's senior aide, Abedin, was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. So what they did was, rather than just being a straight terrorist organization that creates chaos, they did this more in a diplomatic fashion, where they're able to infiltrate governments as well.
How about the organizations here in US related to them? We know about a Muslim Student Association. They organize a week called Israel Apartheid Week, an annual series of lectures and rallies aimed to delegitimizing Israel as an apartheid state. How do you see about the work of these organizations?
Well, there's no question about it that their intention is purely to delegitimize Israel. That is their goal. That's been their charter. And what they have done quite successfully is creating these organizations to influence, whether it's on the college campuses, which we see that happen. We see that the influence that they have within the professorship, within leadership in university systems, to influence young adults, young people, as they're beginning to look at global affairs. If you take a look at organizations like CARE, that recently hosted, or not that long ago hosted, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who has repeatedly made references, anti-Semitic references, as it's all about the Benjamins, or referring to the 9/11 attacks as, some people did something. The idea is purely to minimize the impact or the negative side of radical Islamic terror, but also to at the same time delegitimize our U.S. ally Israel, and to delegitimize the role of the Jewish community within the United States as well as across the globe.
In your opinion, what is the most feasible method to scrutinize their activities, especially the institutions that they have established under false headlines?
Well, I think that there clearly has to be investigations done within the organizations to truly understand what they're attempting to do. Part of their efforts are to use our own First Amendment rights to freedom of speech, and to talk about their ideas and their agenda. However, we also have to take a look at what their goals are, what's their objective. And if their objective is to delegitimize a certain group of people, a segment of the citizenry within the United States, that is highly problematic. And we have to take a look to see exactly what is it that they're promoting before we can really move that ball forward. It's important to understand also for members of Congress, for members of the administration, for lawmakers to really understand what the goal of this of these groups are, and if in fact it is, as we look globally, to promote terror, then maybe we truly consider classifying the Brotherhood as a terrorist organization.
Talking about Iran, during UNGA meeting, top United Nations official demand an independent investigation into the death of Mahsa Amini. How do you see the brutality of this regime and what we can do about it?
Well, this death is just one of many that we've seen over the years. This is one that has actually made the news. This is something that we have been seeing. What really needs to happen is for the United States, as well as Western allies and those who would counter Iran, counter the brutality of Iran, to now really support those who are on the streets. We see protests across Iran right now in much larger fashion. We see more presence within social media and elsewhere. We really need to support those victims, the citizens of Iran who do not support the regime, and see how we can maybe at this point in time affect the appropriate change, with whether it's a regime change or otherwise, within Iran. This is a prime opportunity to make that change.
Well, I was reading an op-ed, joint op-ed between Senator Ted Cruz and Representative Tenney. They said on Newsweek, they said there is no place for criminals in the United Nations. So what do you think?
Well, there isn't, and this has been long debated what Iran's role should be within the United Nations, and this is something that the United Nations essentially needs an overhaul. As we take a look at various different criminal regimes throughout history, this recent history in the United Nations, and the roles that they've played. We take a look at the United Nations responses to Iran versus, if we want to compare it to their response towards Israel. It's highly disproportionate. Of course, there should be no place for regimes like Iran, for criminals in the United Nations. I don't think that the issue right now is Iran. If Iran has their choice, they should be part of the United Nations. It's in their best interest. The question, of course, becomes how do we change the mindset of leadership within the United Nations so therefore we can remove these. I think the problem here is the United Nations itself, and not necessarily Iran in that context.
Especially that Iran made the allies, and like there is a new axis with China, Russia. How do you look at this cooperation, especially, and the EU trying to achieve a nuclear program agreement, but until now this Six Nation didn't succeed. So what is the future, first of all, of this negotiation going on?
The Iran nuclear deal negotiations. This is something that President Biden will do whatever he possibly can do between now and January of 2023, when we have a new Congress. Clearly, any negotiation that happens and any Iran nuclear deal, he's going to ultimately need Congress to sign off on. That's important. I believe that there's going to be a change and many people do, they'll believe that there's going to be a change on Capitol Hill come January. So this is something that's highly time sensitive. The President Biden has made it clear, the Democrats have made it clear that their overarching agenda right now is to make, with regards to Iran, is to make sure that this Iran nuclear deal happens. It seems with every passing day that it's unlikely to happen, but there's no question about it. With their relationship with countries like China and Russia, Iran, of course, is going to reach out to any of these countries. But this is something that we have to truly understand: the threat posed by Russia, the threat posed by China. China, we have this weird relationship with. We know that they're a threat, potentially the biggest threat to the United States, to the globe. The way they're advancing their agenda and their presence across the globe, whether it's in Africa, the Middle East, or elsewhere. But yet, if they are willing to work with regimes like Iran, if they're willing to engage with Russia in the present under present conditions, this is something that we really have to really take a strong focus on.
Yeah, Eli, you mentioned before that Middle East countries consider or put the Muslim Brotherhood on a terror list, but I want to ask you here in details about how you see the UAE confronting or contouring terrorism in Yemen, the Houthis attacks, and also considering the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization.
The UAE is combating terrorism, and this idea of the Abraham Accords. This is something that was created to combat terrorism, to create stability within the Middle East as a whole. The UAE being the first to sign on to the Abraham Accords really took the bull by the horns. In response to the Muslim Brotherhood, in response to bringing stability and the increase in terrorism. They also understood, this was understood, that if President Trump lost re-election, that the idea of an emboldened Iran was right around the corner. An emboldened Iran means that there's going to be an emboldened Hezbollah, emboldened terrorism across the region. This is something that they felt, that they understood. They knew President Trump worked really hard on this, as well as did others, to understood that if they're going to combat terrorism, then we have to move past the issues of old and begin to engage with countries like Israel and create that coalition that is able to put forth a solid defense of the region.
This is wonderful. That's all for now. Eli Gold, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Eli, I want to ask you something.
Hey, Maria Malouf here. Please click to like and subscribe to Maria Malouf TV YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.